Amazon, please. What's up guys, it's Kristen here today with the Try a Chapter tag. So for those of you who don't know, this tag is exactly as the name would suggest. You read the first chapter of 5 different books and then you decide which one grabs your attention the most that you want to start immediately. The 5 selections that I have are right here. I wasn't actually tagged to do this by anybody, but I've been seeing it going around, especially my friend Lauren from Lauren in the Books. I loved her video because she made it feel like a competition between the 5 books and like you were really rooting for one of them to win. And as I said in my TBR video, I've been trying to give a little bit more room for some mood reading in my TBRs. So I thought this would be a really great way to do it, and some of these books have been sitting on my shelf for several months now and I kind of need a kick in the butt to finally pick them up and just try them out. 5 books that I have are Arcadia by Iain Pears. This one is apparently about an author who is writing about these different worlds, and so you get to jump in and out of different ones, and there's a lot of different genres, and people have been saying that it's very similar or kind of a nod to Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy. Then I have Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel. I just hauled this one not too long ago and I'm really excited to get to it because it is a magical realism book, but based a lot around food and family and love, which just gets me every time. And next I have Jane Steele by Lyndsay Faye. This is one of the ones, as I was saying, that's been sitting on my shelf for several months now, and for some reason, even though I've heard so much praise for it and so much hype, I just haven't had the inkling to pick it up yet. But from what I understand, it is a sort of Jane Eyre retelling, but the character Jane Steele is a sort of vigilante serial killer, which intrigues me, of course. And then I have The First 15 Lives of Harry August, another one that I just recently acquired, and from what I can understand, this is a book about time travel, but also, of course, the title being 15 Lives, somebody who comes back to live multiple lives. It says in the description, no matter what he does or the decisions he makes, when death comes, Harry always returns to where he began, a child with all the knowledge of a life he has already lived a dozen times before. Nothing ever changes until now. And lastly, I have The Children's Home by Charles Lambert. I was sent this by Simon & Schuster several months ago. Again, I need a kick in the butt to start it. I kind of read some not great reviews about it on Goodreads, so that's been putting me off, but of course I don't want to judge it by that alone. It could be great, and again, a little bit confusing from the description. Something about a home where children mysteriously start appearing, and it says it's like an inversion of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, fairy tale-esque. So I think I'm going to start off with Arcadia by Iain Pears. It's one of the longer first chapters. I think it's 15, 16 pages, and I've still got my pajama pants on because Lord knows I need to be in my comfy clothes for reading. So I finished reading the first chapter of Arcadia, and I gotta say, we started this off on a high note. I really love this. It starts off in this fairy tale-like world. Almost seems like the picture on the cover, the way it's described, is very natural and beautiful, and there's a young boy who goes into a forest and he sees a fairy, but of course nobody really believes him right away, and then all of a sudden the story comes back to a pub in London in 1960 with this group of university professors, one of which was the one that was telling the story in the fantasy world, and he talks about how they come there every Saturday to discuss these not so literary reads like James Bond and detective novels and sci-fi and fantasy, and he is writing that story from the beginning and kind of getting their opinions on it. I see what people mean now when they said it is a book for book lovers, because he's talking about obviously his love of books and also his experiences in trying to write this story and realizing that it's a lot easier to critique a book that you've read than actually create your own, and what it means to create a world. And I just love anything London in the 60s. That's like my jam. So I am really wanting to continue on with this one. And next I think I will read the first 15 lives of Harry August, though the first chapter is only 2 pages, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to glean from that. So I very quickly finished the first 2 pages of this book, even though it has like one of the best introductions ever. It says, "I am writing this for you, my enemy, my friend. You know already, you must know, you have lost." And then the first chapter, though, starts with Harry August on his deathbed in 1996, and he's just about to die, and a young girl comes up to him and tells him that she needs to send a message through time that the world is going to end. So super intriguing, even though, again, it was only 2 pages. I am very interested in continuing on. It left that little good bit of mystery to it. So next up, I'm going to read Jane Steele by Lyndsay Faye. So the first chapter of Jane Steele is about 15 pages, so it was nice because I kind of got a feel for the story. And I know I said before that I always thought it was a Jane Eyre retelling, but it's kind of different because in the very beginning, the narrator, Jane Steele, says that she just read the book Jane Eyre and that she felt very inspired by it and she saw a lot of parallels to her life, so now she wants to write her own story. I did not expect that kind of a story, and it feels very meta and very unique. I haven't read something like that, and I actually thought the writing was really gorgeous. You meet the character of Jane Steele, of course, who, like I said, has a lot of similarities to Jane Eyre in that she becomes an orphan and she's stuck with an awful aunt and cousins who don't treat her well, but she somehow becomes a serial killer, but she seems to think that her killings were justified. A little bit more nitty-gritty and dark than Jane Eyre, and I like Jane Steele already because she just seems very dark and kind of snarky and talks back, so I already love her. And now I'm going to read Like Water for Chocolate. Again, the first chapter is 16 pages. So I absolutely loved the first chapter of this book. It was everything that I wanted it to be. I love how the chapters are named after the months of the year, but also different recipes. Like the first chapter is called Christmas rolls, and it actually gives you the recipe at the beginning, and as the chapter goes along it describes how they make it. This was probably one of my favorite quotes here though, about how delicious the food is that they make. It says, "It might have been the unusual combination of sardines and sausages that had called to her and made her decide to trade the peace of ethereal existence in Mama Elena's belly for life as her daughter in order to enter the De la Garza family and share their delicious meals and wonderful sausage." Essentially, it's a story of this family that has, I believe, 4 or 5 daughters. It's centered around the one daughter, Tika, who happens to be one of the best cooks in the family, and she meets a boy who she immediately falls in love with, and when he comes over to ask for her hand in marriage, her mother immediately says, "No, you are the youngest daughter, and that's the rule in this family, that the youngest daughter is never allowed to marry, and you have to take care of your mother until the day you die," which of course Tika thinks is ridiculous and not fair, and the guy just ends up marrying one of her sisters. I feel so bad for her, but I really want to keep reading this because it has just all of those comfy, cozy, magical realism feels to it, and it's always in the kitchen talking about food. I'm already starving after reading this first chapter. And last but not least, I will get onto The Children's Home by Charles Lambert. wasn't really in love with the first chapter of this book. As I said, it was kind of like the description where these children are mysteriously appearing at this man named Morgan's doorstep, from infants to young children, and then he just accepts them and lets them live there, and some of them come with like tags on them. But I felt like reading this that I was dropped into the middle of a story. Like, I didn't understand what was going on, which of course happens in a lot of books, but for some reason this one felt especially jarring to me, maybe because it's not as well written, and I just didn't really care about any of these characters right off the bat because I have no idea who they are. So I think I'm gonna put this one off for a little while longer. Now that I have finished all 5 books, I'm going to announce the winner, so to speak, and I think it's going to be Arcadia by Iain Pears. Again, this one just captured my attention the most, and I really love the writing and the atmosphere of it. Though it is about 700 pages, and I'm already tackling so many huge books this summer, so I'm a little bit nervous about starting it, and it might take me a couple months to get through it, but I think this is the one. Followed very closely though by Like Water for Chocolate, and because this one's so short, I might just dip in and out of it in the next month or so. And that is it for the Try a Chapter tag. That was a lot of fun to do. Again, I want to introduce a little bit more room for mood reading in my reading every month, and I would love to hear from you guys if maybe you've read these books before, or if your interest was piqued by the first chapter. Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!